like a boat. If it sinks, it doesn't matter whether you're the captain, a crew member, or a passenger. You sink with it. And it is because we are not letting the company subject to the bottom of the ocean that today, on this side of the house, we stand by the phrase, trust but verify. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. The motion before us today is this House believes that companies should monitor their employees' social media. We'll start by defining companies as people united or incorporated for joint action, monitor to watch closely for purposes of control, employees, people working for a company for pay, and social media, online means of communication used by masses to share information and develop social and professional contacts. We recognize that recent technological advancements make it now possible for employers to monitor their employees' digital footprint, and there is a 60% expected of corporations to embrace on such monitoring of social media for security breaches by 2015, according to Gartner and Inc. This tells us that this topic is a topic of concern in today's labor market. Team Proposition will prove to you today: 1, it is legitimate; 2, it is beneficial for the employee; and 3, it is beneficial for the company to embrace on such monitoring. We will present to you a model in which we will allow firms to monitor employees' social media by contract, in which we will monitor public information and private information randomly, by random selection, and by the method of keywords and algorithms, which will identify inappropriate or threatening posts for the company, and this will be made quicker because it is done by algorithms, and they do not care about personal issues such as love affairs, so there is nothing to worry. Here we find that we have proven the legitimacy denied on our first side of the issue. We will present to you 3 main arguments, which are employers' right to choose, deal with problems before they expand, and ambassador of the company. I will start with our constructed case, but first I'll take a point in the opposition has.
Point of information.
Yes.
Okay. How can you guarantee that there will not be any hacking and that people will not be allowed?
I understand your point. In case there is hacking first of all is illegal, and second of all, we will consider each case in Human Resources Department because we are considering companies who have the sufficient resources to embark on such monitoring. Therefore, the Human Resources Department should be well developed. Moving to our first point, employers' right to choose. On the first layer of analysis, we find that before hiring an employee, we have psychological, psychotechnical, physical health controls exams that are about the privacy of the person, that make reference to the employee's health. Now, even if we have monitoring, once we have this invasion of privacy in a way, before hiring the person, why wouldn't we do it, not invasion of privacy, but this monitoring over the person in order to make sure that this person is capable of being part of our company? Why wouldn't we do it once they are in? We need to trust them even more once they are in. We need to satisfy them and control the people that are under the employer's responsibility. And therefore, we believe that this would be a very efficient method to control all of these issues. As a consequence, we would have, considering a possible change as regards requests from the employees, and the possibility of measuring and anticipating the performance and retention issues from the people working for your company. Therefore, what we find at the end of the day, just a moment please, is that there is a raise in the productivity of the company. Therefore, we are proving to you our benefits for the company. Would you disagree, sir?
Yes, but we're talking about benefits even with the invasion of privacy that you just
I understand your point. However, this is not considered an invasion of privacy because, first of all, we spoke about public posts. Second of all, when we refer to private posts, what we are referring is to a random selection. Therefore, we are not invading one's privacy. And third of all, what we said is that the algorithms will not mind your personal messages, for example. They will just look for keywords that are in reference to the company's posts. Now, yes, moving to our second argument, deal with problems before they expand. In the first layer of analysis, we find that the private information of the company should not be released, and it is the duty of both the employer and the employee to protect and defend those trade secrets. Once they sign the contract, they accepted all the secret. But what happens? Social media increases the possibility of information release. Therefore, we should prevent this from happening, or in case it happens, take it down as quick as it is possible. In a second layer of analysis, we find that we would be protecting the company, the employer, and the employee, and the actions that they have and their consequences. They need to know that each action they have has a repercussion, not only on them, but on every person of the company. And if the company sinks because of something that someone said, they all sink with it. Let me give you the example of an IRS official who was poor in math and tweeted that he could not do 3 divided 4. And that person is supposed to collect her taxes. Therefore, what we find is that the image of the company is damaged, and that is what my second speaker will develop further on in the case. So we have proven to you how 1, it is legitimate, 2, it is beneficial for the workers and for the employers, and therefore increases the productivity of the whole company. So at the end of the day, on this side of the house, we would trust but verify. Thank you.
It is now possible for employees to intrude into many aspects of their employees' life, especially their digital footprint. And that is why we are today debating. This House believes that companies should monitor their employees' social media. So what we ask ourselves is whether it's beneficial and legitimate to both employees and employers of the firm to monitor their employees' social media. We accept the definitions provided by the propositions, but we want them to clarify what happens to small companies that may not afford this kind of resources, and what happens to public companies in which the state and the government are both involved. Now, I'll divide my speech into main parts. First, a refutation of what the first speaker of the proposition presented, and then our 3 main arguments, which I will present too. First, hashtag the right of privacy. No, thank you. And no one is tagged by their work, and trending drag. I'll now start to read the first. No, thank you. I haven't said anything. Now, about the model, they said that this will be done by a contract. Now, aren't they manipulating a person? If you need a job, wouldn't you firm sign everything that makes you win money, that makes you have a job? If you have to sign that they will control your social media, you will do because you need the job. But that is no, thank you. But that is manipulating someone. Now, they said that hacking is legal, but then they also talked about intruding in random selection. That is hacking also, and they said it's legal, but then they said, no, it's okay because it's done by a contract. It's still illegal. They are not changing anything. So they said intruding is okay, but hacking is not okay. It's a clear contradiction. Then, well, as I already said, the invasion of privacy is invasion of privacy. It doesn't matter if it happens before or after you have the job. A psychotechnical test is different from intruding into one's personal life, their relationship with other person, what they say, no thank you, what they say in everyday life, their feelings, their thoughts. Because doing a psychotechnical test is, no thank you, checking whether the person is available physically and mentally for the job, not what they think about other aspects of their life.
May I have this point?
Yes.
But you will know the disease they have, and you will not know what they speak about your company.
Okay, but what if this disease makes them not able to perform the job? That's a different thing. You cannot hire someone who can do the job. But then once they can do the job, why do you have to read? Why do you have a machine reading all their conversations, checking what they do every day, where they are, and every time? No, thank you. And computers, okay, they say an algorithm. This algorithm is absolutely perfect. It has no mistakes. The algorithm's words can be used for different things and can be misunderstood in every case. Doesn't matter if it's done by a machine or by a person. No, thank you. And they said that you need to know what your employees are doing in order for them to do it right. So you need to intrude in someone's private life. You need to read everything that they do in order to educate them to do a better job. Okay, that sounds perfectly reasonable. Okay. No, nothing. Now I'll move to my first argument, which is the right of privacy. As I already said, the right of privacy is fundamental. It doesn't matter where you work. We have a democratic freedom of association and expression. We have the right to express ourselves. It doesn't matter if it's our personal life or what we think about work. What if I'm tired from work? Okay, I'm tired.
Point of information.
No, thank you. Maybe the machine will take this, and this will be misunderstood, and we carry a lot of consequences that are not necessary. And so I have a control to what I say. If I tell to my sister, to my boyfriend, to my mother, something, doesn't mean that everyone has to know it and the company should be able to manipulate my life on that. So, and this can be also damaging for the company, because would you like to work in a company of stalkers, and if you know that company invades every personal aspect of your life, would you be able to, give them your secrets, give them everything, because they can see everything. You know that in social media, there are a lot of things other than work. Now, a second argument, that is no one is tagged by the work. There is a clear difference between the role in a company and the role of an individual. My second speaker will furthermore say about this argument. So, what the opposition believes is that we must not unleash Big Brother. Thank you.
By failing to prepare, we are preparing to fail. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, honorable chairperson and members of the House. The motion before us today is this House believes that companies should monitor their employees' social media. Now, before I begin with my third argument, for the last argument for side proposition, I would like to give a short and concise refutation of the arguments presented by side opposition this far. First, we talked about this privacy and how on side proposition we showed how we are already checking people's social media before hiring them to see if they are fit to work in this company. Now, what are we doing? We're continuing this operation. They said, if they are already fit to work in the company, why should we continue monitoring them? We should continue monitoring them because times change, and maybe this person in the future is not the same person you hired. People change, and that is why we believe we should continue this operation that these people already agreed on their contract. Now, second, they brought up the point of hacking. First, we said it is illegal, and then we already talked about individual cases, ladies and gentlemen, that will be evaluated by Human Resources Department. So therefore, we would not have a breach and we would not have misunderstandings. They brought up the point of privacy, ladies and gentlemen. First, on side proposition, we would like to say these are public posts that these people are already putting on Facebook for anyone to see, all their 10,000 friends if they like. Second, we said that these people signed a contract allowing for the company to do this, so this would not be a breach in privacy. And third, we talked about random checks. There's an algorithm. The algorithm doesn't care about your relationship status. It only cares about keywords specific that are joined to the company. No, thank you. Now, therefore, we are not intruding in your life, ladies and gentlemen. They brought up the point of small companies. Now, we are not obliging anyone to do anything. We're saying that if you want to do this and you can do this, it will be better for you to do this. That is why the motion is this House believes that companies should do it. We're not making you do this, ladies and gentlemen. And again, the misunderstandings and what if I say I'm tired and then they take it in the wrong way? We already talked about Human Resources Department and how they would evaluate every specific case for us not to make a huge mistake that we might regret in the future. Now, side proposition today must prove that it's legitimate, beneficial for the companies and for the employees to do this. Now, we already showed it's legitimate and beneficial for the company. Now, we will show how it's even more beneficial for the company and the employees in the third argument called the image. Now, the reputation of a company for 1,000 years may depend on the conduct of one single person, one single moment, ladies and gentlemen. We can see the clear example of Kentucky Fried licking, where a Kentucky Fried Chicken employee posted in the social media of himself licking the mashed potatoes and the chicken tenders before serving them to the people, and this caused great chaos and great media outrage, ladies and gentlemen, and we do not want this for our company and for the rest of our employees. We believe that every single employee, every single person working at a company is an ambassador for the company. Therefore, these employees represent the company whether they are working or when they are not working, ladies and gentlemen. That is why we must take this, that each person's job is something, it's a pillar of their life, on what they are based upon, and their personality depends on this. But you disagree, sir?
If it was so harsh, why do we have some blocks away a Kentucky Fried Chicken?
Ladies and gentlemen, this company had to contain their problem. It's not that just by one thing the whole company is going to collapse, but their image to the world has been damaged, ladies and gentlemen. And how many of us here knew the example of the Kentucky Fried licking? Few. That's why we're in Argentina. But in the United States, more people know this, and this has taken a greater toll on the company's image in the United States, ladies and gentlemen. Now, we must know that if someone disrespects the company, we're not only directly damaging its image, but we are also damaging the stockholders and the other employees that are working. The company has the right and the duty to protect its image for the employees and for the rest of the employees that are working hard, and for the stockholders, ladies and gentlemen. We might consider the results of the AMA, the American Management Association. In a survey, they found out that 14% of employees admitted to publish confidential company information to third parties. Now, another 6% sent customer credit card information, social security numbers, and many, many more like this, ladies and gentlemen. This would show another way of how monitoring social media would be a benefit for the clients and therefore the company and the rest of the employees that are also sitting in this ship that will sync with everyone in it, not just those people that publish in the social media. Now, by monitoring, this can all be reduced, ladies and gentlemen. Social media reaches the world instantaneously. I can post something on Facebook and the whole world can see it in a matter of seconds, ladies and gentlemen. This shows how the damage can be instantaneous, harsh, and sometimes some companies may not be able to recover from this. So therefore, it is even worse if it is done from someone inside the company, and even worse if it is done by a high-ranking officer. So that's why we must monitor to prevent these problems. We are doing the best we can, and ladies and gentlemen, that is why we believe it is beneficial for the companies, for the people in the company, and for the And it is also legitimate. It is beneficial for the company and for the employees. That is why on-site proposition we must and verify. Thank you.
There is nothing more despicable than respect based on fear. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I am the second speaker of the opposition, and let me remind you that the motion before us here today is that this House believes that companies should monitor their employees' social media. I will divide my argument into two main parts. I will begin by refuting everything said by the Honourable Proposition and then expand over our own arguments. Expanding on the second argument, my first speaker currently mentioned. Then, let us begin that the Proposition based their whole case on the fact that they would only be monitoring their employees' public posts on the social medias. Let me ask you a question. What is more valuable for a company than, what is more valuable? An employee who has the best efficiency, who is really good to the company, who gives it all of these benefits, who saves a lot of money, who works hard and puts all of its effort into the company's well-being, then, and you're going to waste all of that just on the fact that they posted something you didn't like on Facebook. How is it that you will start not letting all employees work in the companies that they things on their social media? So even if they are public posts, what are you going to do about it? If an employee is work that has nothing to do with their efficiency, that's what a company should work. They should focus on the results. If the company has good results, good efficiency, and good employees, then their company will succeed, and that is the key to success. Then they base themselves on random selections. They base their case on random selections and an algorithm. So they're basically setting the well-being of a person because the employee feels affected when there is a company who distrusts them. The company they work in 8 hours a day, they feel that they are being distrusted from and they are being treated like criminals almost. And they base everything on a computer, on a simple algorithm. Imagine if a boss went to an employee and said, an algorithm just told me, and it said that you did something bad on your Facebook page just because you posted on something. That denied.
On that point,
Denied. The first speaker of the proposition also mentioned that this was, and agreed that this was an invasion, a sort of invasion of their privacy. On that point, don't you believe that one of the most important assets a person can have is their right to their privacy? Isn't that something people cherish? Everyone who has been exposed to public media always says that the thing that they would most cherish is their right to privacy. Because what you do behind closed doors has to stay behind closed doors, and no one has the right to go and invade something you don't want them to look at denied. And even if they were public, because it has nothing to do with their efficiency. It also said it is better for the employee. How is it better for the employee? This would be expanding on my third argument. How is it better? A place where you work 8 hours a day, 5 days a week. You create, no, denied. The employer creates a sensation of distrust with the employee. You have to create and you have to manage a sense of trust with the employee so they can know that you trust them and you will be there whatever problem they had. That's what human resources has to be. Not the human resources isn't there in a company to go and scrutinize everyone in the company. Denied. That will lower efficiency in the company, that will create a tense environment in the company, and that will increasingly be bad for the stockholders, which the proposition clearly states about, because efficiency, all they want is results, and that is based on money, and they don't care about the employees' success and how good they feel working in a company, because that's what companies stand for efficiency, integrity, and for protection of the privacy. Moving on to, we already mentioned to you, my first speaker spoke about the invasion of privacy, which is that the right of privacy is one of the most cherished people can have. No one is defined by their workplace. The efficiency of an employee doesn't have to do with what they put on their social medias. And on to our third argument, which I will be expanding on, unnecessary drama. It is illogical for a company to go and waste money, to go and waste assets, the proposition so cherishes, on going and scrutinizing every employee. What if an employee went on their Facebook page or on their Twitter and said, oh, I'm so stressed from 8 hours of work, and you they think that they're exploiting them? How can an algorithm know? A machine cannot think for themselves. They cannot understand, and if they're only looking for keywords, like what would the keyword be there? I mean, what the proposition fails to explain, how this could efficiently be done, and what are the immediate consequences and benefits for both the employer and for the employee? Because all we have seen here in this debate is that the proposition only cares about the stockholders and the employer's rights. So we believe that we should not unleash Big Brother. Thank you very much.
Precaution is the only defense against betrayal. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. honorable opposition, and members of the House. I stand here as third speaker of the proposition presenting the motion, this House believes companies should monitor their employees' social media. So, what did Team Proposition have to show to win this debate? It had to show that this motion would be legitimate and beneficial. Now, throughout my speech, I will move on to do a summary of what we have said during the debate and show why we won this debate and how we proved these points, as well as refuting clearly 3 main points of clash, which were the algorithm, privacy, and manipulation, how all the points that Team Opposition presented to us were actually false. So, let's start with the first point of clash, which was the algorithm. Here, there was a main and huge misunderstanding from side opposition. What did we hear from them? What if the algorithm fails? What if this doesn't work and suddenly, well, I don't know, that they are sent and fired or sent just because of a mistake a machine made? Now, let me explain to you why all we have said on side proposition actually goes against this fact. We said that if the algorithm detects something, it's not a direct, okay, go back home. It actually is taken to human resources department, and here actual people that their jobs is to check these kind of things, will be looking at this to make sure that the algorithm didn't make a mistake. That this wasn't simply, that this wasn't simply a machine mistake. So, then once again, the company absolutely does not care about your personal life. The company, it's not its objective, no thank you. It's not its objective to go and see what you did over the weekend with your friends, to see how much fun you had during the week as well. Well, no, the company does not care. This is why the algorithm detects especially what will cause harm, not the rest, and then actual people will detect whether this is worth taking into account or not. So, moving that aside, the second point of clash, which was privacy. Here, what did we hear? Well, let me see what we heard on side proposition. We showed that there was no actual debate on the legitimacy of checking public posts. Why? Because these are already public. They are accessed by the general audience. Therefore, the company has the right to do so as well. Now, with private posts, we showed the method of the algorithm, which it won't even be a person looking at first. Then it will be random, and it only detects potentially harmful things. Not the rest, not the family relationships, and not the other things the company doesn't care for. So, we also heard from side opposition the repetition of one word. We kept hearing it over and over again. What was this word? Stalker. Now, why are we against this word? Because we believe this is a harsh and very exaggerated word. Now, why? Because it's leading you towards a false image. It's leading you towards something that we actually do not believe is real. Now, why? Because what we're doing is not stalking. It's not looking over your shoulder every 3 minutes to check what you're doing.
What information?
In 1 second. It's simply a precaution. The possible harm from these actions can be terrible if the employee doesn't know what he's posting. And it can even be terrible for fellow employees, which I will go on to mention later. And, yes, please.
But you're giving real information, private information, to real people from the algorithm, to the human resources department. So the person
I understand your point. But yes, the information will be given if this information is considered to be harmful by the algorithm. If it's something about how tired you were when you came back from work and got home, the company will say, you know what, we don't care, just keep going, keep working. So therefore, it's not exactly a private invasion that the team opposition is trying to make you see. So, moving on to the third point of clash, which was the manipulation. So, what's the problem here? There is absolutely none. They're presented with the contract. They have 2 options. Sign, don't sign. They sign, they agree. It's as simple as that. So, moving on. Once again, no manipulation because the human resources, no thank you, reviews out of time, reviews every single case, and there will be no misinterpretations at all. The whole view of the companies here presented is wrong. The objective is not to invade people's lives, otherwise to protect these very people they believe we are invading. Even in the case that we consider that they are being invaded, the employees will see it is for their very own good. Now, why is this? Because they will see that they will know that someone is protecting their backs. So, what have we proven in this debate? We have actually proven that it was legitimate and beneficial. Why is this? We presented 3 major arguments, which were the employee's right to choose, where we show that when hiring, they have plenty of tests. Therefore, it maintains the reason to keep using tests once they are hired to maintain the standards and control. Second argument, to deal with problems before they expand, showing how problematic these consequences could be for the employees, employers, and the whole company itself. Third argument, the image. The gravity of the situation must be clear, and this is why we believe we have proven all of our points. Thank you very much.
You have the right to remain silent. Anything you say or do may be used against you in the Human Resources Department. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. The motion before us today is this House believes that companies should monitor their employees' social media. I am proudly standing as the third speaker of this side of the House to prove you why. On this side we have shown powerful points in order to refute this side. But first of all, some clarifications. The first speaker said, we do not let the company sink. But at what extent, I mean, why, by what? By sinking an actual person. So actually we are giving priority to a company, but I'm from a person, so we believe that the rights are being broken, the rights of the people, the right of privacy, and of course of the freedom of speech that I will be developing later on, are being broken. And from the very beginning, the first speaker has referred to an invasion of privacy. She said like this, invasion of privacy. And this is the language tonight that we are actually managing today, the invasion of privacy, the shutting up of a person against the right of freedom of speech. And then the second speaker said a slight contradiction. We would be monitoring, especially senior officers, because all of their actions may be harmful for the company. Now, usually senior officers are also employers, so is the employer stalking himself? This is a very important contradiction. Now,
On that point,
my first point of clash that we have found is the legitimacy regarding the privacy. Now, the question is it worthwhile to break a right as fundamental as privacy in order to get random checks that can actually slightly prevent an event that would let the company just keep on going? And they gave the example of Kentucky Fried Chicken. Kentucky Fried Chicken actually still exists. Now, they talked about this person who licked a size of chicken, but Aldo Palermo, ladies and gentlemen, you can go. I mean, I'm sure these 3 people are dying in there, and actually it still exists. It's just an isolated event that would not actually affect the company substantially in order for us to break a right. I mean,
point of information.
Yes, sir.
So simply because the company didn't go broke, you assume the image wasn't harmful?
Okay, I get it, but now this will take me to the next point of clash that is beneficial. I mean, is it actually beneficial to just try and attempt to prevent events that would not actually be substantially harmful for the company? And well, this takes me to the next point of clash, which is the analysis of cost and benefit, which is the balance that we make. Now, benefits to the company, and this is what this site has been referring to thoroughly, we are giving great power to them. This is a great benefit for the company. We're giving great power to them for them to be capable of managing a lot of information that is private. And as the third speaker said, giving the information to actual people, to the Human Resources Department. So it's not only an algorithm that will codify this information, but an actual person will have it. And what if this person is related to this criminal
I
for
understand
using
your point,
employee,
sir.
which will be the consequences? He can actually manage all the information. It's like an intelligence officer. We are giving him information for him to take decisions.
Sir,
Yes,
this is the job of the Human Resources Department. They are supposed to manage the people.
their job is not to stop, sir. Their job is not to manage private information for them to take decisions that are very important for the employer's life, for the employee's life. We are giving actual information, we're giving actual power for them to decide the future on another person. We're saying that he is superior. We're giving him superiority in the rights. Ladies and gentlemen, we are all equals against the law. So, coming back to our case, I'm going to make a slight summary of it. We talk first, privacy, democracy, freedom of association and expression, and freedom of speech, of course. And the violation may damage the company's image, because as my first speaker said, we do not want to work on a company of suckers. Then second, No one is defined by where they work. So the person perhaps responding to the employer, I mean, we are breaking a whole structure. And third, unnecessary drama. It's illogical for a company to fire a person who is actually in full exercise of two rights that are fundamental: privacy and freedom of speech. And because we think that everyone is equal against the law, we must not unleash Big Brother.
Today we have seen a proposition that based their whole argument on the well-being of employers, stockholders, and everyone who has been economically benefited by the company's income. Now, we on the opposition side ask, what about the employees? We have heard nothing but lies and things that have nothing to do with it. We have only heard benefits for the employers and the stockholders. The motion before us here today is that this House believes that companies should monitor their employees' social media, and I am proud here to close the case for the opposition. The proposition had to prove two main questions today to win this debate. First of all, if it's legitimate, and second of all, if it's beneficial, both for the employer and for the employee. Now, what is the problem that brings us here today? That the recent technological advancements make it possible for employers and companies to intrude in their employers' lives, including their digital footprint. So we would like to ask, the proposition based the whole case saying that Human Resource Department will be dealing with these cases. So we ask them if Human Resource Department is the one who is in charge of receiving complaints and about people stalking employers or people abusing employers, and then if, what happens if an employer feels that he's being abused by the company? Who do you go to if Human Resource Department is the one doing it? What do you do when the company is the one bullying you, when the company is the one who's lying to you, and when the company is invading in your privacy? Who can you sue? Can you sue the stockholders? That wouldn't be quite beneficial for the company, or would it? They would lose money. And they also base the whole on the image of the company. What do you prefer? A company who sells inclusion, diversity, and non-invasion of privacy, or a company which you wouldn't even go to work to because you know that everything you say will be used against you in the Human Resources Department, as my third speaker already said. So, would you go and work in a company, would anyone go and work in a company where you know that everything, that you might be stalked and possibly everything you put on your social media, even if it's not even that important, you don't do it to harm the company, and you do it with good intentions, a company which you may have been working for, or you may want to work for. Would you go there? No one would do that. That's bad for the company, that's bad for the stockholder, that's bad for the employer, that's bad for everyone. Then on to the first question, is it legitimate? Absolutely not. We already said that the right to privacy is the most important right a person can have, and one that is needed to cherish, because once a person's exposed, there's no going back from that. There's no going back from people knowing about your private information. And what happens with the people who are being stalked and who are being looked, even if it's public information they post on Facebook, what happens if they don't find anything? They already have access to all their information. Would you work in a company where you know that your boss may know that you've been out with your friends on a Friday night and who God knows what you could have done? And there's nothing wrong with it. You can do whatever you want, because outside of the company, we're first and foremost human beings. We are people. We have lives. We deserve to have lives. We could be representing the company's image, but no one here is saying that we're not. Outside the company, there has to be a division, and people have to know the difference. So it is not legitimate. And third speaker even said that it's not stalking what they're doing. Then what is stalking? We believe that stalking is looking constantly at people's social media and every aspect of their life. That sounds like stalking to us. And they said that if they don't sign if they don't want to sign the contract, they can just not sign it and go. What do you do about people who need work? Because work is a necessity, not just a privilege people want to have just because they want to work. The other question, is it beneficial? It is absolutely not beneficial. To the employers, it's not beneficial because it lowers efficiency. Why does it lower efficiency? Because there is a constant, there is not good energy in the workplace, because people feel stalked, people feel abused for. It's not beneficial to the employer, to the stockholders even less, because the company loses efficiency. And so work environment, which is constantly not beneficial to the employee, because the employee has to spend 8 hours a day there for 5 days a week. So how can you work in a place where people know every aspect of your private life, and where people are constantly, and people are not defined by their company, because people are human beings, and a company cannot define who you are, who your aspect of your moral is. Because you can work, for example, in a tobacco company, and you do not want to kill people from cancer. But anyway, the company does it because they're selling cigarettes. So do not unleash Big Brother. We are proud to oppose this motion. Thank you very much.
department? I walked through the hallway, defenseless. I opened the door and the chair turned. And that's where I saw it. An algorithm was telling me I was fired. Thanks God Team Proposition could clarify today that I could sleep well tonight. Good afternoon for the last time, ladies and gentlemen. The motion is this House believes that companies should monitor their employees' social media. We would like to divide our reply speech into three main questions. 1, is it legitimate? 2, is it beneficial for the employees? And 3, is it beneficial for the company, which was the issue that we established today at the beginning of the debate. First of all, we would like to say that their point as regards the comparison between Human Resources Department and where you should take your problems was a brilliant point, and I'm sure my third speaker would have been glad to answer it. However, it was brought too late in the reply speech, and therefore we'll make no reference to it. Now, yes, is it legitimate? We'll start showing to you what Team Opposition stood up. They told us that it was hacking. However, on this side of the house, we don't believe that when someone wants to hack you, they make you sign a contract. Second of all, we answered to hacking that the Human Resources Department would evaluate every single case which was required to do so because that is their duty in order to avoid misunderstandings and avoid disputes with workers, in order to have a peaceful environment for working. So therefore, our answers for privacy were clearly the random checks that we presented at the beginning and the signing of the contract in order to obtain consent from the workers. Therefore, we're not intruding in your personal messages. Second of all, on this side of the house, we proved to you how the concern and the case evaluation would solve all their points as regards privacy, and how Human Resources Department will determine whether your case is to be analyzed for firing, for sentence, or whatever. And of course, an algorithm is not going to fire if that's your worry. Now, moving to our second question: is it beneficial for the employees? Beginning with privacy again, on their side of the house, we find that they told us that they do not want their private messages to be looked for, to be checked. Now, let us tell you that we clearly presented to you how it is the duty of the company to prevent the damage of the company, and we also presented to you how if the productivity goes down, then it is not relevant neither for the workers, neither for the employers, and neither for the company as a whole to keep on with these posts. However, we also proved to you how it is the duty of the company to protect the workers, and how I like to bring what the reply speaker said. The economic benefits are not only for the employers and for the shareholders. The economic benefits are also for the employee. Let me tell you that if the company goes down, if the reputation of the image of the company goes down because someone posted something that was damaging for the image of the company or that threatened the integrity of the company, then it is not only the employers who are damaged because you are a worker. So therefore, we prove to you with our argument employers' right to choose how this question is also answered with a yes. Finally, is it beneficial for the company? We presented to you how it was totally, how the productivity would be raised if we promote this motion, and how their argument and necessary drama clearly is solved with our answer as regards misinterpretations at Human Resources Department. We also spoke about how just the damage of the image in the case of Kentucky Fried Chicken will not make the company go bankrupt at once, but however, the image of the company is damaged, and that is the argument that my second speaker proposed. Furthermore, we explained to you how it will not only be beneficial for the company as a whole, but for each employee, which is the question that they brought up in today's debate. So therefore, because we proved to you that it was legitimate with our model, because we proved to you that it was beneficial for the employee as regards privacy and as regards their own disputes, and finally, because it was beneficial for the company, that today Team Proposition is proud to say we would trust but verify. Thank you.